thought it was time to do some of my somewhat regular practicing of speaking and not really sure what I want to talk about. Just know that I got a bit of a feeling in my chest, feeling of just slight sort of constriction, a little bit of heat, a little bit of a surge of something that wants to come through. And I think in life it's kind of hard sometimes just to remember to live, just to live and be present with what's around us, because there's so many things that we can get wrapped up in, so many ways in which we try to go onto these complex journeys to improve ourselves, to heal ourselves, to acquire things, to make us happy. It's like we all carry around this long list of things that, of things that are things that we want more of and things that we want less of in our lives, and we like carry around this list of grievances about what it is that we suffer. And it's almost like we use this list of grievances to remind us of what we suffer, so that we can so that we don't remember, that we don't forget how fucked we are. It's like we want to always remember how fucked we are, because if we don't, it's like some like belief inside of us that we've absorbed through so much of what permeates the atmosphere of the culture that we have here, that if we don't constantly remind us that we're at a disadvantage, that we won't move forward in life. And so I think it really, it's like we all are like required to carry around this heavy weight of everything we've done and everything that we've tried, and but part of the root problem is, I think, that we just, even when we improve, it's not like the list of the things that the things that we sort of feel like obligated to remember that are negatives. It's not like that list just goes away, It's like the world, the world requires us to have this attachment of remembering, always being reminded of how things are less than what we would like them to be. And it's hard to be present in the moment because of that, because it's like we always imagine something should be better than what it is. And it's hard to like really rest sometimes and say, okay, I'm going to be okay with where I'm at today. It doesn't matter where I've been and how far I have left to go. But right now, I'm going to be with what is, and I'm going to stop requiring myself to remember how much I want more out of this life, and how much there's things that I feel in my life that I'm obliged to wade through that are not what I want. And it's like a lot of times we have to, there's certain requirements of us and certain circumstances we live in. And it's like we have to like save ourselves. We constantly, to save our idea, this identity of autonomy, we have to remind ourselves that we're like, this is not what we want to be doing. We are like essentially a slave to this circumstance, and we have to be doing it rather than not, like rather than sort of letting go of the attachment to this misery and just being okay with kind of like allowing ourselves to just relax with what is, even if it's not what we want to be doing necessarily. But it's sort of like the place where we feel like, we have to be in order to survive, and I think that's sort of like the friction. I think sometimes we begin to associate our own survival and what was required for survival with something very arduous and negative. And so like a lot of the activities of survival, like we wish we could like overcome this fear of death and this fear and this obligation to meet our needs and to make compromises with the world and get entangled into these, sort of long contracts of duties and things that are expected of us. And, because that's all part of, we tell ourselves we have to do these things in order to survive, but we also, some part of us wants to, remember like, well, I'm not free, then. If I have to do all these things that I do for survival, I'm not free. But what if, I don't know, what if there's a way in which we could be free even in the face of meeting our needs for survival and, going through the tasks? What if we had let go of like this extra burden that we put on ourselves, that we tell ourselves that we're fucked, and making it worse, and sort of, all that subverbalization, all this self-talk that we do, that sort of, constantly keeps some part of us agitated. It's like we require ourselves to be agitated in order to feel like we're autonomous individuals and that we're not choosing the life that we have because we want it, but because it's where we're stuck and we have to be. What if, we could let go of that and tell ourselves, hey, there's, we just don't have to tell ourselves anything really, we just kind of allow ourselves to be free in a sense that does not require so much of the circumstances to be something that is so far off in the distance where it's out of reach and where we're like stuck down here. It's like, is there like some way we can make peace with the reality of what is, and then not necessarily require ourselves to project into the future, this is the way it always has to be, but to be like, I can be happy in this situation without reminding myself that I'm really not happy and I really don't like my life, and I feel this tremendous weight on my shoulders to move forward. And sometimes I feel like there's not enough joy in me left to continue moving in this life that requires me to suffer through this misery. But I guess my question is that misery something that is inherent to the struggle of life, or is that misery something that is birthed of something that we learned to do to motivate ourselves in a negative sort of prodding way that makes us more unhappy with the circumstances, and it makes us more stuck where we're at, and makes us more feel like there's no progress that we can really make? Because it's sort of like in this place where I think we can find ourselves sometimes, where we let go of all that, that sort of allows our eyes to open to all the abundance that is available to us in this world. Things that we didn't consider previously available. They're not necessarily, it's like we get so hyper focused on how our fulfillment is supposed to look that we forget to sort of let go of all that and just be able to see what our heart responds to when we're not like digging in our trenches and preparing for battle for every day. We just sort of expect that there's going to be this next day, I'm going to wake up and it's going to suck just like, all of the other days previous to this day. But, that sort of that gets in the way of our eyes to really be, our field of vision to be clear enough to be able to just enjoy some of the things that there are to be enjoyed. Because maybe the misery in life doesn't ever really fully go away, but maybe it's not so much there as we believe it to be when we start opening our eyes and start seeing more of what is beautiful in the world, and being more open to feel what our heart responds to, if we allow ourselves to not be so weighed down with all this momentum that we have within ourselves to continue to repeat this narrative that we want to be here, but we're stuck here, and this, until we're over there, we're that's the true life that I want, and this life over here, it sucks, and this is the life I'm at, and this is the life that I want. What if it's not black and white like that? What if the life that would really make us happy is not something that we can necessarily plan for in this controlling, way of, I'm going to do follow all of these methods, and then I'm going to achieve my goals, What if there is a simpler way to happiness? And that is, it's not like we have to discard of all the wisdom that we've learned and everything that we know. Everything that we know. But just to be able to sort of be okay with where we're at, and to be able to enjoy what we have. I think it's such a simple thing in it, and yet words seem to somewhat, I wish I could, give you this feeling that I'm feeling right now of surrendering, not to the misery of life, but surrendering to allowing the possibility that everything that I've told myself is going to be off the mark in some way. And that, the truth of existence, the truth of joy, and the truth of happiness is beyond the verbal realm. And it's only in that verbal realm that we become prisoners to misery and suffering and other people's beliefs and our own beliefs. Anyhow, so wanted to kind of let that feeling flow through me and allow myself to continue allowing this life force to flow through me. Very much enjoy that I have a voice and that I'm able to speak. And anyhow, I'll leave it here. Have a good one.